Welcome to the Tempida Advanced Functions video. This video covers some of the advanced features of Tempida related to smart fields. The topics in this video are meant for tech-savvy users who want to program their own templates. If the topics discussed here are too complex for you, but you still want to take advantage of these advanced features, the staff at Tempida is always available to create templates for you from scratch given your specifications. First, let's look at how you can perform numerical calculations inside of Tempida. I'm going to open up a BMI calculator, and then we'll look and see how this works, and then see the programming behind it to see how you can make numerical calculations on Tempida templates. This is a simple calculator. You simply enter the height and weight of the patient in feet and inches, and it figures out the BMI. So for example, I'll select 6 feet, and let's suppose they weigh 190 pounds. Notice how the calculator automatically calculates the BMI, as well as if the BMI is in the normal range or in the overweight range. The calculator also takes the English measurements and converts it to metric. Let's see how the calculator actually works behind the scenes. These fields are simple fields that you're already familiar with. These are single select fields for the height, and then this is a free text field for the weight. Let's take a look at this height smart field, which converts the English measurements into metric measurements, and see how it's programmed. We're in design mode, so I'm just going to click on the field to open up the field definition. You can see here that this field is a smart field type, but there's no if-then statements. It's just a calculation. If you look deeply at the calculation, you'll see what's going on here. First of all, you'll notice a couple of differences. We've been used to taking fields and wrapping them in curly braces to represent their text value. As you can see here, these field names are wrapped in square brackets. When you wrap a field in square brackets, that means take the numeric value of that field. So, for example, the height and feet field, which represents this field right here, is then taken as a numeric value. Then the asterisk means the multiplication sign and is multiplied by 12, and then to that is added the height in inches field as a numeric value. This essentially gets our height in inches by doing this calculation here. Once we have the height in inches, we then multiply the entire thing by using the multiplication symbol again by a conversion factor that converts inches into meters. You can also see here, just like in algebraic calculations, you can use the parentheses to group calculations together. That way, for the order of operations, this addition happens before this conversion happens. This is simple mathematical algebraic calculations that Tempida can perform. So this is a smart field that takes the value of two other fields and does a numerical calculations and puts this value into this field, which is named height in meters. This weight in kilograms field also works in a similar fashion. It takes the weight in pounds as a numeric value because it's surrounded by square brackets, and then multiplies it by a conversion factor that will convert it to kilograms. Now if we look at the actual BMI field down here where the BMI is calculated, let's take a look at that. So this one will take the weight in kilograms field, which was calculated up here, and divide it by the height in meters, which is calculated up here, and then the upper carré like this means an exponent. So it squares this. So this is the actual calculation for BMI, which is the weight in kilograms divided by the height in meters squared. And that's how the BMI is calculated. As you can see, these calculations happen on the fly. So if you change any of these values to a different value, then the BMI will automatically change. Now let's take a look at this other calculated field at the bottom and see how it works to figure out if the BMI is in the normal range or in an overweight range. We'll go into design mode and click on this to look at its definition. Let's take a look at the first line of this smart field. Obviously the question mark is an if statement, which is standard for most smart fields. So if we read this first line, it's saying that if the numerical value of the BMI field, which is this field right here, is less than 18.5, then put in the words underweight. If you look at this next line, it's a little bit more complex. It basically reads, if the numerical value of the BMI field is greater than or equal to 18.5 and the BMI is less than 25, then put in normal. The AND is a new logical operator that we have not seen before. The logical operators are all up here. The ampersand is the AND, and the pipe symbol is the OR. So you can use logical operators in these if-then statements in order to make complex calculations. So the rest of these are just ranges of different BMIs. So if the BMI is greater than or equal to 25 and less than 30, put in overweight. If the BMI is greater than or equal to 30 and less than 35, put in obese class 1, etc. So a couple of things we've learned on this example is how to take numerical values of fields by placing them in the square brackets, and the use of the AND or the OR operators to calculate more complex if-then statements. The field assistant lists all operators that are available for use. For example, we know about the selected operator and the not selected operator. We know about the equals and not equals. The contains is an interesting operator. It scans a field for text that contains something. Let's see how this works. I'm going to create a new line of text underneath this. So what I've done here is create a new line of text underneath here that checks to see if this field contains the word over. Let's see how this field is designed. I'll click on it to show the field definition. So let's look at see how this is defined. What this says is if the text of the BMI range field contains, remember the percent sign is the contains operator, the word over, then put in yes into this field. Otherwise, as a default, put in no. So let's see how right now the BMI range is in the normal range because we have 220 pounds in here. Let's go into edit mode and decrease the height and see what happens. So now the BMI is in the overweight range, so this field is now saying that the BMI range field, which is here, contains the word over. Now let's look at some more details about the field assistant. We'll go into design mode and look at this field here to bring up the field assistant. So all the operators and all the evaluators are up here at the top. Putting your mouse over them will give you what that operator means. The less than or equal to, the greater than or equal to operators, when you're using text-based fields, i.e. fields that are wrapped in curly braces, will evaluate those items alphabetically. If you're using numerical values like we are here with square brackets, then they evaluate numerically. The numerical operators are all listed here, including addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and the exponent. Text fields, i.e. fields that are represented inside of curly braces, only have one operator, which is the plus operator. You can use the logical operators in smart fields to perform complex calculations. For example, the suggested CPT field down here is based off the values of the other fields up here. According to the 2021 E&M guidelines, if I view some outside x-rays or my decision making is something complex like scheduling the patient for surgery, I can bill a level 4 visit as opposed to a level 3 visit. So, for example, in this carpal tunnel initial visit template, let's suppose I viewed x-rays from an outside institution. Notice how the CPT code changes to 99204. Also because I'm also performing surgery. If I change my plan just to getting an EMG, it changes back to 99203. So this field knows the values of the other fields and determines the CPT code based off of that. Let's go into design mode and see how this field works. You can see here this looks fairly complex as far as this calculation is concerned, but if you go through it step by step, you'll see it's fairly logical. The first thing we'll notice is that we can group operations together using the parentheses. So for example, inside this first parentheses, it says if the plan equals surgery or the plan equals an injection. And then outside the parentheses, there's an and. And inside the next set of parentheses, it says if the EMG is not equal to not done, or the x-rays equals done at an outside institution, then if this entire calculation evaluates as true, then put in 99204. Otherwise, the default value is 99203. This type of calculation may seem complex, but it is something commonly done by programmers. So Tempida can perform even complex calculations using a combination of parentheses and the and or symbols. Now let's talk about functions. Functions are powerful tools that you can use inside of smart fields to perform various tasks for you. In this simple example, we have two separate dates, the surgery date and the current date. Let's create a field that determines how long it's been since the patient has had surgery. So we're in design mode. We're going to click the field button to create a new smart field. The functions are all listed right here as a top item underneath the field assistant. To look at the various functions that are available, click the down arrow. Here's the different functions that are available. As you can see, all functions start with the @ symbol. And when you click the down arrow next to a specific function, it gives you a description of what that function does. For example, this date difference field shows that the output of this function is text, and it gives you a description of what that function is, as well as examples of how to use it. We're going to use this field to figure out the difference in dates between these two dates. So to use a function, simply go on the line, clear out the original text, and then click on it, and the function will be inserted for you. We can see here that this function requires two parameters, of which the date difference function will figure out the time in between those two dates. So we just need to put in two field values here. This field here at the top, which is a surgery date, again in curly braces, and then the second date, which is the current date, which is the name of this field here. Let's see what happens when we save this. You can see that it automatically calculated the amount of time between the two dates. There are numerous functions that are available for use in Tempida smart fields. It's beyond the scope of this video to go through each of these functions, but for those that are interested, you should peruse the list and also the definition of how these things work in order to familiarize yourself with them. For those that want a complete list and reference of all Tempida functions, click the Open button and search for the Tempida Smart Field Functions reference. This gives you a complete reference to all the functions that are available inside Smart Fields inside of Tempida. The final topic for this video will be about field details. I've opened up a template here. Let's look at this plan field and see how it's defined. You can see that it's a single selection field with just 3 items. But if you click the Detail button, you'll see that there's more behind it. Each of the 3 items in this particular field has an associated other column of other items that's named Plan. It's kind of like a spreadsheet that allows you to have multiple columns with different values in them. So for example, for the heel cord stretching item, here's the plan that is associated with that. The same thing for the walking boot item. How do you use this information inside of a Tempida template? You use it using the component function. So let me click Done here and see where this is used in this template. So we'll go down here to the plan and the smart field here. So if I click on this field to look at the definition, so we can see that we're using the @component function to extract the details from the plan field. The way this works is it takes the plan field and looks for a column named Plan and then extracts the text from that particular column. So for example, right now we have heel cord stretching selected in the plan, and then this smart field is displaying the text on the second column or the plan column from that field. So if we look at this field again and go into details, it's extracting this text and putting it into that smart field. If we go into edit mode and change this to a different value, you can see that this field changes its text. Its text is now changed to the item associated with this particular item in the plan field. Again, if we go back to design mode, click on this one, and then click on details, you can see that it's extracting this text. So you can think of the details of a field as a spreadsheet with multiple columns that you can extract information from. If you need to add a new column to this particular spreadsheet, just give that column a name and click Add Component. Now there's a separate column that you can enter text into. Again, to extract the text out of this column, use the Add Component function. So to extract text out of this column, all we would have to do is in this smart field down at the bottom, change which column we're getting the information out of. So the details portion of a field allows you to associate data with a particular item in multiple columns, and then the @component function allows you to extract that particular item from that spreadsheet. This concludes this video of the advanced functions of Tempida. I know some of the concepts given here may seem complex and may be beyond the scope of most physicians. You can always contact our staff to have them do all of this complex programming for you. Thank you.